Hi, and welcome along to the early edition of AFTV News Daily. Hope you guys are having yourself a great morning, great day, anywhere you are across the world. Still in lockdown here in the UK, but some good news yesterday. That the curve of the virus is starting to flatten, which is good news. And even the government talking about putting out a plan soon to get us back to work and get us back to normal. It's not going to happen overnight. You could tell by the way they were saying it in a very cautionary way, but at least it's a step in the right direction. Again, you know, I mean, we've had a lot of deaths over here in the UK. It's just so sad. You know, I think it's 27,000 people now have died in this country from coronavirus. It's really been horrible, and there's still unfortunately going to be more deaths. I also noted though that there's been over 1 million people have recovered, so we got to think on the positives as well, that, you know, a lot of people have recovered from this illness, and that's been down to the strength of those people. That's been down to the strength of the NHS being able to cope with the crisis. So well done to those guys as well. But it's still really sad when you think about the people that have died, the people that have suffered with this. I've got a friend who had the coronavirus, who's only just come out a hospital. A couple of weeks ago, they were saying they were giving him like a 20% chance of survival. He was on a ventilator, and he made it through it. So thank God for that. But yeah, it's a horrible time at the moment. And sometimes when we're there and we're talking about football and stuff like that, number one, it's great because we want to get things back to normal, and it's good to take our mind off of it. But also we should always be mindful of what's been happening in the world. It's not just here in the UK, right around the world, and it's been absolutely awful. And we just pray for the times when we can get back to normal. Let's get into some football talk. Lots of rumours around today, as they are right throughout this period. Rumours are flying around all over the place. That's the nature of the beast, isn't it? It's the fact that, you know, people have to go out there and find stories. And there's lots of transfer rumours, even though, remember, the season hasn't finished yet. Nabil Fekir, I spoke about him on last night's show, which I had Drifty on, which is, by the way, if you haven't had a chance to watch that show, go and check it out. It was brilliant. Drifty, Liverpool fan, of course, defending Liverpool to their hilt and saying why they should be awarded the league. So check that show out. That's still available. But Nabil Fekir, Real Betis, he's at now. Remember, he was at Lyon previously. One of the most sought-after midfielders in the whole of Europe a couple of seasons ago. Was chatting to Drifty about this last night, because remember, he was on the verge of joining Liverpool. But Liverpool passed on it because of this knee injury that he's had at the time. And Liverpool were just worried that knee injury could reoccur. Remember, he was pictured in Liverpool kit, everything, on the verge of signing for £53 million. Didn't go there. Ended up going to Real Betis. He's had a decent season, 7 goals, 6 assists. Lots of interest from clubs like Arsenal. But Fekir coming out yesterday and saying that he wants to stay at Real Betis, which is a bit of a surprise, because I think there's a lot of people who were thinking to themselves he'll probably want to move on to a bigger club than Real Betis. But he's come out yesterday and said, despite all the interest in him, he would like to stay at Real Betis. So it doesn't look like that one is going to happen this summer. There's also the Odsum Edouard of Celtic. Now, we've spoken about him quite a few times on the show before. Edouard has been having a great season up there in Celtic. 22 goals in 27 games. That's a very impressive record. He's another one of these players from France. They've got so many talented players over there, talented strikers who, first of all, when he had the move, you know, there was a lot of doubts on him. Would he be able to deliver? But he has. He has delivered big time up there. Now, there's a lot of talk that if Aubameyang does move from Arsenal, Edouard could come in as his replacement. And Celtic, very conscious that not just Arsenal, but a lot of clubs are looking at him. Any striker that scores 20 goals plus. It doesn't matter what league, you're going to get a lot of interest in you. They've put a price tag of £25 million on him. I'm not sure if they get that in this current coronavirus, pandemic that's going around. But they set their price, 25 million. Certainly, listen, they don't want to lose him, but with the way finances and that are going to go, I'm sure Celtic are probably going to resign himself to the fact that he could go this summer. And that is the price that they want for him. They definitely want to cash in on Edouard, and £25 million is the price that they want for him. Would he be worth it? That's what I'd like to know from you guys. Edouard would he be a good signing for Arsenal? Could he replace Aubameyang? He's not going to completely replace him, no chance, because Aubameyang's in a different league. But could he be? He's only 22. Could he be in the future a player that could replace Aubameyang? Certainly, though, looking at that price tag, won't be cheap. Won't be cheap. Probably better off keeping Aubameyang again. But let me know how you feel about that one. This Cengiz Under. Whoops, that's the wrong picture. Cengiz Under, Turkish international, very good player, plays for Roma. And last season was having a great season. Not so much this season. Hasn't really, has been left out of the team a lot. Hasn't always figured week in, week out, but was, a player that Arsenal were looking at heavily for a time, and didn't end up signing him. He ended up staying at Roma. And again, still quite a young player, only 22. Now, there's talk that Arsenal would be willing to swap Mkhitaryan plus some funds to try and get this deal done. Initially, I think last season, Roma were looking for about 25 to 30 million pounds for Cengiz Under. In some reports, even up to 35 million pounds. Not worth that much, but could he be a good replacement for Mkhitaryan? If we say move Mkhitaryan on, who definitely wants to go to Roma, Mkhitaryan plus money, would that work for all parties? Going to be interesting to see how that one develops. Remember, Arsenal seem to be keen this season on doing a lot of swap deals. We've seen that and we've heard that. Swap deals and loan deals may be the order of the day for Arsenal. So could that be a possible swap deal? And could there be a possible swap deal in the offering for Frank Kessie? Frank Kessie of AC Milan. He's valued at around about £27 million. Sort of a box-to-box stroke defensive midfield player. Very good player, actually. Arsenal, again, is another one of these players that they've been looking at for quite a long time and have had an interest in. But it doesn't look like AC Milan have been that interested in selling him. However, AC Milan do want Lucas Torreira. They would like to bring Torreira to the San Siro. And could this be a possible swap deal? This is a deal that some publications are going with today without really substance. I think they're just putting the fact that, it's been put out there that Arsenal, the team that does the transfers have openly said swap deals, loan deals, stuff like that. So a swap deal for him and Torreira. They want Torreira. We like Kessie. Could that work? I mean, is he better than Torreira? That's the question. It's all right swapping deals for something shiny and new, but is he better than Lucas Torreira? Lucas Torreira is a Uruguay international, has played very well for Uruguay. We haven't seen enough of him, obviously, at Arsenal, but he's maybe next season when he's more settled in, we might see a better Lucas Torreira. But is Frank Kessie better than Lucas Torreira? I've not seen enough of him to say that he is. Or would he suit, maybe this is the question more, would he suit our style of play more than Lucas Torreira? Or would he suit the Premier League more than Lucas Torreira? Be very interesting to get your views on him. Or is anybody out there who watches Frank Kessie on a regular basis who could say whether he is better or not? But Frank Kessie today being linked in this swap deal. And what about what's been going on in France? Now, of course, and again, we spoke about this extensively on the show last night with Drifty. The league in in France has been cancelled, and they've awarded the title to PSG. And they've also sent 2 teams down at the bottom and promoted 2 teams up from League 2. It's caused a lot of fuss over there in France because basically they've decided also on European places based off of where everybody's finished. Now, this means that Lyon are going to be out of Europe, and it'll be the first time they've been out of Europe for years. Remember, they're normally a Champions League team, and the president of Lyon is losing it at the moment because, you know, he's threatening to bring legal action against the league and everything. Now, one of the reasons, as I said, he's losing it is because they're not going to have any European football. And if they don't have any European football, they could lose some of their major players. Dembele up front, who a lot of clubs are already looking at. Is he going to want to stay at Lyon with no European football? And then, of course, there's Hossein Aouar, who Arsenal are very interested in. Will they be able to keep hold of him with no European football? We might not have European football as well, by the way, but also it's not just the fact of playing in the Champions League. It's the fact that money is going to drop drastically. You know, they're going to lose a lot of money, Lyon, by not being in the Champions League, and may not be able to, you know, finance these wages for these sort of players, and will have to most certainly move a couple of those high-profile players on because they're not going to be getting that influx of money in from playing in Ligue 1. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this one develops out. Aouar, previously, we were being told that the valuation for him was around about £40 million. But as I said, with no European football and a massive drop in finances for Lyon, they may be forced to sell Aouar and some of their other top players just to survive. You know what I mean? This is a tough time for all clubs across Europe. And this is some of the dangers, and it's what I was sort of pointing out to Drifty last night, some of the dangers of just saying, you know, cancelling a season and then just awarding things to people, because other teams that miss out could sue and could possibly win as well. So my personal thing is that I was saying to Drifty yesterday, if the season is voided, I personally think that, you know, void means start again, as you can see with the problems there. But it could open up an opportunity for a team like Arsenal to possibly go in and get a player like Aouar. But again, Arsenal not even looking to spend massive anyway. So let's see how that one turns out. Let's get into some of your comments. Socially Outcasted says, I'm good, thanks. No Kessie, but I would take Aouar. So he's not up for that swap deal with Frank Kessie, you know, being swapped for Lucas Torreira. Reese says, Torreira is brilliant. Great people. And I think, I'm not quite sure the grabber here, maybe he's from abroad. People that I think he's saying he's not that bad, but he thinks he's a great player, and we shouldn't be getting rid of him. Vishal says we need to up our loan system like Chelsea. Their loan system is top notch. They sell for huge profits after successful loan spells. Some examples: Salah, Cuadrado, and many, many more. Well, we've got a couple of players out on loan at the moment. We just haven't got those big assets to... Remember, Chelsea, they buy a lot of players, then send them immediately out on loan. And the ethics of doing some of that isn't, you know, I mean, it's one of the things that have brought a lot of problems on Chelsea, this whole loan system that they've been using. And I think they're not getting away with doing it the way they used to do it as much as before. So not sure if that's the right model to follow. Omar says Kessie is dead food, so he's not feeling Kessie. Harry says Kessie was dead when we played them. So again, another one who's not up for Kessie. Boss SJ says, big up Robbie. Man, I'm a key worker and your podcast and daily news Helps me to get through my shift. Thanks. Thank you very much, mate, and keep up the outstanding work that you're doing. We really appreciate it. Lindell says, big up from South Africa. I really think Arsenal should do their best to hold on to Torreira. He's a great player. So there's a snapshot already. Most people saying keep Torreira, you know what I mean? And do not do a swap deal with Kessie. Casper says Arsenal needs someone like Koulibaly. Shame he's probably going to Spurs. Koulibaly's not going to Spurs. Where's Spurs going to get the money to buy Koulibaly? We quoted 80, 90 million pounds. No chance. Would not be at Spurs. I mean, if he ends up at Spurs, I'd be questioning where they got the money from to do that. Archie says Aouar is a quality midfielder, but would be on very high wages. He would be on high wages, but you can restructure it so he's not on ridiculous wages, because he's still a very young player. And we will be getting rid of some of these players sometime very soon that are on big high wages. Pego says, hi, Robbie. I like Torreira, so I would like to keep him. But I think Kessie is similar to Partey, but Partey would be ideal. I'm not sure if Kessie is in the same league as, in the same league as Partey. I think Partey's on another level, but he's a good player. Shrey says, Robbie, Arsenal should go for Kessie. I watch Serie A, and he could potentially be the best in his position alongside Partey in a two-pivot midfield. Alongside Partey, you're getting greedy now. You've not heard the situation at Arsenal. You've not heard about all the pay cuts and stuff like that. Where are we going to get the money for both of them? Christian C says, the transfer market is so fluctuated, and the average player is priced at 50 million. Arsenal is struggling to offload the dead wood. That's very true. Arv says Aouar could potentially be our Cazorla replacement. He would be a great to pivot with Torreira. So, I've seen that Aouar is a very, very talented player, would definitely fit Arsenal's system. It'd be interesting to see how he'd adapt to the Premier League, a very physical league, but he is a very silky player. Omar says, Lucas Torreira stays, Robbie. There's still loads more in him. So lots of votes here for Torreira. Lots of votes for Torreira. Andy Mills, Aussie Guna, he says, Aubameyang to sign and become a legend with a statue. Well, let's hope he signs. Let's hope he signs. James Fallon says, what about Camavinga? Try and get him for cheap now. Very good player from Rennes. Again, that's a great point, because a lot of these clubs now in France, with the league finishing out how it has, some of the clubs that have missed out of Europe in particular, and also missing out on the revenue because they had 11 games left, are going to be in a lot of financial trouble and may have to let some of their very best players go. This is really the chance to pounce and get bargains in, but it just seems that Arsenal are in such a weak position. I mean, first of the big clubs to announce a pay cut, and that's a very worrying sign, because straight away you just think, oh, we're immediately struggling, because Chelsea haven't done a pay cut yet, Man City haven't, Liverpool haven't, Man United haven't. Arsenal immediately pay cut. You think, where's the owner? So and then the team that buys the players, Raul, Sanelli, Vinan, they've all put it out there already that don't look for no big signings this summer, or swap deals or loan deals, and so it is worrying that we haven't got some reserves there to go out there and make some of these big signings, or it may be a matter of moving certain players on so that we can free up the money to get, because there's going to be a lot of bargains over there in France. Maybe some of them may be available on loan, because these players are going to, to pay some of the wages. Some of these teams might need a bit of help. This guy says, I don't think we can get a better long-term Ramsey replacement than Aouar. So again, another vote for him. Sam the man says, if we get Cengiz under, the North London derby will be The Undertaker versus Kane. Okay. Y2T says, Robbie, when are we going to act as a big club and start spending money? I don't know, man. I don't know. Casper says, what do you think about the club value list, Robbie? Well, we're what was it in that we're valued about 5th in the world, and we're always up there on those lists of valuations. You know, 5th in the world. We're always in the top 10 biggest clubs in the world. Do we act like it though? That's the thing. I don't think we do. I don't think we pay a lot of wages at this club, and a lot of it's historic. We paid a lot of wages for mediocre players. But I'm not sure that we act like a really big club. Yeah, we don't. If I'm being honest, we just do not. Nick says, hi, Robbie, can you get Chris Hudson on your show? Definitely, we're going to have to try and get Chris on. New Maguna says, I think we need to sell Torreira. He did not work out at Arsenal, but we can't swap him with Kessie. Kessie is not good enough. Michael says, Robbie, the season voided, Aubameyang leaves and we qualify for the Champions League, or Aubameyang stays and the season finishes. Which would you prefer? Qualifying for the Champions League would be great, but we do need to keep Aubameyang. Budu says, Partey should be our priority. He's as good as Essien was for Chelsea. We Ghanaians really think that he's that good. Wow. Well, listen, if he's as good as Essien, mate, we should be getting him immediately because Essien was a top player. Bean TV said we should offer Xhaka in a swap deal for either midfielder. That's true. I mean, Xhaka, but then, you know, Xhaka's not what AC Milan want. They want Torreira. They don't want Xhaka, you know. Rikesh says, keep Torreira and Aubameyang, get Kavinga and Aouar, although I don't see the latter happening this window. We don't have the ambition anymore. Herminator says, Aubameyang needs to sign the contract, swap Lacazette for Partey. Imagine what Aubameyang can do when playing down the centre. AutoZone says, hi, Robbie, I would keep Torreira and maybe get a loan for a defensive mid and marry. I would definitely take Aouar. We need to offload some of the dead wood. Oops, we've already done that one. Chris says, oh, hi, Robbie, fun one here. Of all the players in the Premier League, who do you think is the most fit? Milner, Kante, Ryan Fraser, Andy Robertson all come to mind. Fit in what? I don't really look on players that way, right? Like, maybe you should answer it. I don't really look. I'm the wrong person to ask that, unless you're asking as in fitness, right? And then I have to say Kante, because that guy, he can run up and down the pitch all day long. But if it's the other type of fit, I can't really answer that for you, because I don't really look at the players like that. You know what I mean? Milo says, that was a fun one. Milo says, why get Partey and block players like Guendouzi? We want to protect Saka, etc. when discussing wingers, but not our young midfielders. That's a great point. That's a good point. You know, you bring in Partey, what does happen to a Guendouzi, who's still a very young player and a top prospect? Good point, that. Good point. One Daniel Dominguez says we need to invest in a better youth system so that we can save money in buying players. I think we've got a very good youth system. We have got some very, very good young players in that youth system. And I think it's going to serve us well going forward in the future. We've already seen Saka come through, Willock, Reece Nelson. We've got some good young players, man. Give them a chance and let's see what they can do. Edward Torres says Lucas Torreira should stay. He's a young player that covers a lot of ground on the field. If we get Aubameyang and Lacazette, keeping the young core would be important. Okay, good points. Again, lots of great points out here today. Otto M says, I watch French footy a lot. Aouar is one of the best midfielders in France. So lots of shouts going for Aouar. You guys seem to really, really like him. And we can see when you get a really talented midfielder into the team, it can make a massive difference. You look at what's happened at Manchester United since they got that Bruno Fernandes in. Daniel says, hi, Robbie. People seem to forget the big business we did last summer. A great player in Saliba coming in, and younger players will continue to develop. We don't need to spend big. Okay. Don't always have to spend big. You just got to get the right players to suit the system. FIFA 20 live stream says, where's Kelechi? Get him on the show. We've had Kelechi on already, but we'll try and get Kelechi back on definitely. Lord's official says, big up from India. Recently, Mesut Ozil has shown signs of improvement under Arteta. I think he will get in form, and if he does, will you give him an extension or not? Love from India. Personally, no, I wouldn't give him an extension unless, no, I wouldn't give him an extension. I was going to say unless he drastically dropped his wages down, but I just think come the end of his contract next year, the time has then come for us to move on from Mesut Ozil and maybe a Aouar, somebody like that. You bring in the next big thing to take over that mantle from Mesut Ozil. That's just my opinion. Bilal says, Don Robbie, can you grow an afro in lockdown? By the way, do you think Lula from Besiktas? I don't really know much about him. Afro, how's it going now? Okay. No, it's not going to work out, bro. DeVito says we should be more like Bayern. Need to loan class players and see how they work out. And if they are really good, make it permanent. If it doesn't work, let them go. Bayern have been pretty good at doing that in recent seasons. They have done that very well. They've got a very good transfer system, and they're always looking at quality. Bayern. They do also have a lot of money to spend, by the way, especially on wages, being the biggest club in Germany. Shrey says, Robbie, Aouar likes more freedom to play. He could potentially be the solution to the Ozil problem. He has the finest goal contribution for a midfielder in Ligue 1, and that's love from India. Kingsley says, this might come back to bite me, but I believe in our current recruitment squad. They seem to have the right strategy. I hope you're right. Listen, look, let's give them credit. Last summer, they made some very good signings. Guendouzi, I think, has been a successful signing. Still got to see the better of him, but for a young player who came in from the French second division that nobody had ever heard of, he done well. Martinelli, again, nobody ever heard of this guy, has come in, has been absolutely superb. Pepe was a really exciting signing. It hasn't worked out yet, but it's his first season. He could get better. He could become a top player. And Saliba is, we're all excited to see what he's going to do. He was very highly rated over there at Saint Etienne. So that looks like a good signing. And David Luiz, off and on, not been the worst signing in the world. Improved under Arteta. Had a very shaky start to the season, though. A very hit and miss signing. So they haven't done badly. They haven't done too badly so far. And we have to. I mean, it's a real shame that finances are going to be so curtailed this season, because it would have been interesting to see what they would have done in the transfer market this summer. Although I still think they would have had the same problems because, unless we got Champions League football. Let's get a couple more from you guys. SDMI says, hi, Robbie, a joke here. When Xhaka passes to Lacazette, the Arsenal fans say, boom, shakalaka. Okay. Right. there was, oh, what was that comment that went there? So this guy says, Kotku to replace Ozil. He's been linked heavily with a move to Arsenal, of course. There was the comment. There was one comment I was trying to find there as the last one. It's annoying when it disappears. Derek says, what's your opinion on getting Todd Cantwell instead of Aouar? I think Aouar is more of a creator, but I do like that Todd Cantwell. I thought he had a great season for Norwich. Really does look comfortable on the ball. So, yeah, I do like him. I really do like him. Rest HBK says, hello from a Latvian Guna. Been a fan of the channel for over 5 years now. Thank you. He says, thank you for the hard work and entertainment over the years. We should go for Grealish. He would suit us really well. Grealish would suit us really well, but we can't afford Grealish right now. We can't afford Grealish. Philemon says, we want troops. Well, we've got the Bias Premier League show coming out later on today, so make sure you check that out with troops. So I'll ask troops about a few of these things as well. So that's going to be coming out later on. And I really want to thank you guys for taking in the show today. Don't forget, we're going to be back tonight with the evening show. But as I just said, we've got troops today on the Bias Premier League show, so look out for that.